Okay, our session today will sort of continue the conversation we started last time on custom GPTs or agents, and we'll have the wonderful Christy presenting for us today. We'll introduce her session very soon. But thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Just we thought before we start, why a community of practice is an idea that started in the Ed-Tech SIG as a response from the feedback that we received from the SIG members, mostly having this sort of informal space. And I think that's one of the most important characteristics of this sort of activity that we're organizing. So it's a good space for keeping up to date. That's one of the things that we really need when it comes to AI. There's something new coming up every minute. So I guess from this space is trying to select from all those tools and all the practices that are happening and appearing, trying to select those that are most meaningful and valuable for us as teachers, and try to bring them into the conversation and presenting it and discussing and learning from each other. So also sharing our experiences, what's working in our context, not necessarily, the conveners sharing what we do, but also it's great to hear and to see what you are doing in your context. And we're actually inviting and encouraging people to present at these meetings and to share their experiences in the future. Practical applications, I guess that's another keyword here, being, always thinking of practical takeaways and things that you can implement readily in your class. Of course, especially for those that maybe have not started yet, playing around with AI, much of technology, having this space to experiment, to discuss, and to reflect on the use of technology. So you'll notice it looks slightly different. It's not a webinar in a traditional sense. And even though we do bring some sort of feature presentation every time, it's all about the conversations that happen and the sharing of experiences on what we are doing, what's working, what's not working. Okay, quick refresher, and I'm not going to talk a lot about this because Chris is going to mention it again, but what happened last session, we introduced this concept of custom GPTs. We had Chris Wasso from the University of Adelaide presenting and sharing this idea of custom GPTs. I know some of you were already familiar with them, but basically with a custom GPT, it's a way of training the language model. Say, for example, and particularly the custom GPT is the brand for Chat GPT, but other providers have different names as well. But basically, they're all functioning in a similar way. Instructions are provided, like sort of pre-programmed in the system, and then the sort of responses that we receive are consistent most of the time with the set of instructions that have been given. So this is excellent because it saves a lot of time from prompting and allows us to focus on high-end tasks, like, for example, refining outputs, which we know it's usually very necessary when it comes to using AI. So those are the main benefits. And last time we introduced 3 examples. So Chris shared a reading workshop designer. He's using vocabulary builder and my personal favorite, the CCQ writer, concept checking question writer. For those who were not here last time, those links, when you receive the slides, you can just click on them and it will automatically take you to those custom GPTs. And you can try them out yourself. But last time we told you, like, did anyone get a chance to play around with them, to experiment, to try prepare a lesson, or maybe with a different custom GPT that you discovered or created? Why not? Feel free to open your microphone and share your experience if you did try using any of them.
Hi, I did. I had a look at Copilot's agents because we have a work Microsoft's email account, Outlook, and you
Yeah.
can also use your personal one. I
Mm-hmm.
had a look at Google's Gemini Gems
Nice.
because I've got a Gmail account.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't use the Chat GPTs, custom GPTs, because that needs a paid one, but Perplexity has one as well called Collections,
Mm.
and Claude has one as well for projects. Though the Claude AI ones, the projects are only available for team ones, so not publicly shareable, and they need a paid subscription.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm basing mine on Copilot's agents, Gemini Gems, and
Yep.
Perplexity's collections.
Excellent.
Though I
When
note
trying the
in
three of
the
them, did you find any of them more like better than the other or more convenient or
um no, I think it was just probably smoother to use Copilot's agents
mm-hmm.
because that's all integrated. Um I note the difference in the free tier features and the paid tier features
Yeah.
with all of them, but noting the Copilot and the Gemini ones were free versus the Chat GPT ones.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was limited what you could do with the free version of Chat GPT.
Yeah.
You couldn't have custom ones. There's a limit on the file uploads, etc.
Yes,
And no
exactly.
plugin support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's really good, Claire. Thank you for sharing. Glad that you got to experiment a little bit. Um, Anyone else would like to share your experience? There will be time for more conversation later on, so you can also share in your breaker rooms. Oh yeah, Christy, thank you. I was also thinking about that. Did you ask a
Yeah.
follow-up question? What did you use it for?
What did you use them for, Claire? Can you tell us, nice one for trying lots of different ones out. Maybe you could tell us what sort of your use case was.
I used three examples of tasks based on a text, and I asked it to create reading activities, but I gave it some different prompts. One was I wrote, pedagogically sound reading activities, including making use of communicative language teaching principles. That was one task.
Mhm.
And then another was similar, but I asked it to focus on particular sub-skills of reading, just specific information, detail, infer attitude, deduce meaning of terms from context. And then the third one I tried out was getting it to identify a specified number of key terms and then to create a glossary or other tasks which clarify meaning and check understanding of meaning. And I must say, it gave me some, pretty creative kinds of tasks. I'm just having a look to see. There was pre-reading activities, predictions and discussions, and it even suggested, how the students should interact. It gave me the questions, and it also, this was interesting, it identified what the communicative language teaching principle was. So that was really useful in my work with higher education people who don't necessarily understand what communicative language teaching is and how it can be useful in their work, say with a reading about, trafficking animals in a unit on law related to smuggling animals. It also then gave me some skimming questions. It gave the actual questions. Then there was an information gap activity it suggested and how to do that. And of course, again, always with the principles, there was a task for vocab in context and an extension task. Then there was a role play activity where students would be practicing persuasive and functional language related to the topic. Then there was a critical thinking discussion activity and a writing extension activity. And so for all of these, it gave me the name of the task, the objective, the task, and then the principle. And it
Yeah.
was very actually creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Great job.
Amazing.
Sounds super comprehensive. And I'm going to show everybody a really similar example. So if anybody's thinking like, oh, I can't do that, I don't know what Claire's talking about, don't worry, I'm going to show you. So nice one, Claire. That sounds great.
I think thank you, Christy, and yeah, I think Claire, we know who's going to be facilitating the next session here.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a volunteer, I think.
all right, well, let's get started with the agenda. This is the agenda for today. So Christy is going to share a key presentation today, and then there will be an opportunity for discussion in breakout rooms for experimenting a little bit. We'll come back to the main session and share some of our findings, and then we're going to finish with the next steps, what's coming for the end of the year, and of course, inviting anyone who wants to participate and become more actively involved as well from this side of things. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing screen now, and Christy, it's all yours.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, if you can just give me a verbal yes, because I can't actually see the chat. If you can see my
That's perfect.
PowerPoint.
Oh,
Perfect.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction, Gabrielle. It's great to be here. Great to see so many of you. I recognize some of your names from the previous community of practice, but good to see some new ones as well. So welcome. As a quick introduction, I'm Christy. So I'm one of the deputy conveners on the Ed-Tech SIG. And in my day-to-day life, I work for Pearson Australia. You can probably tell that I'm British, so I moved over to Australia at the beginning of the year. And prior to that, I was based out of Pearson, London. Before that, I was at Oxford University Press. So I've had most of my career spent in English language learning, educational courseware, publishing, of course, with some teaching background and experiences. So I'm really looking forward to talking to you all about this subject a bit more. My role at Pearson now is as a product manager in an innovation team. So we get to do lots of fun stuff with AI. So hopefully I'm the right person to tell you a bit more about this topic today. So like I said, I can't actually see the chat, but please talk to each other, ask me questions, talk to the other conveners, and I'll come and look at the chat in a little bit. But please do encourage active conversation. This is a nice relaxed session. So, okay, let's dive in. So I'm going to start at the start because I think it's important to recognize that we're all at different layers and levels of our journey with GenAI. So for those of you who weren't at the last session with Chris, that's no problem. So let's start again and think about what the differences are between ChatGPT and custom GPTs, because they don't make it easy because the two have very similar names and they also look quite similar on the front end, on the UI. So let's just really break it down. So ChatGPT, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with ChatGPT now. So ChatGPT is a general assistant and it can answer almost any question across pretty much all topic areas. Okay. And what you'll notice with ChatGPT is every time you have a conversation or you ask ChatGPT a question, it will take on the same tone and the same behavior for every conversation. So it's default, it's generic, it's your helpful assistant for everything. And then when we come to custom GPTs, what I really want you to start seeing them as is a really super helpful, specialized assistant. So they are really focused on a specified topic or a particular task. So what's important to see here is that we have sort of a funnel. We have ChatGPT general, we have custom GPTs, which other people might have created. And then we have custom GPTs that you can create. So we can see that we're sort of honing in from a more general to a custom GPT that somebody else might have created to a custom GPT that you can create. And you can make it super personalized to fit your context, to have a consistent set of behavior that you have defined based on your instructions. So, as Claire already pointed out, to build custom GPTs, you do need a paid ChatGPT subscription, but you can also use Copilot, Gems, and other solutions. So, don't worry, there are still options for you. And like I said, custom GPTs that somebody else has built, you can still use them without a paid for account. But if you want to start building your own custom GPTs for that super specialized assistant, then you will need a paid for account. So that is the difference. And then, so yes, why that's going to be something I come back to today. A custom GPT that you have built is your personal assistant. It's been trained by you, and it's got your specialized knowledge and your context. It already knows that, okay? It's your super duper personal assistant, not your general assistant who's just started working for you on day one. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, why is this going to be useful for me? And that's a good question. So, custom GPTs work best for repetitive and time consuming tasks. So, they're best for repetitive tasks because you are training and giving your custom GPT a set of instructions once. So, you want to be able to go to this custom GPT every time you need to do that task, and it will already know what to do. So, it makes sense to do it for something repetitive. You tell it what to do once, then every time you go to it, it's ready. It knows what to expect. So it's best for those repetitive tasks, and also AI in general is best for those time consuming tasks. And I'm sure as teachers you spend a lot of your time finding materials, adapting them, lesson planning, assessment, feedback, loads and loads of things. They're very time consuming. But I'm sure you're also thinking, this isn't just really easy admin. This requires a lot of your expertise. So, what's really important here, and what custom GPTs can do well, is they allow you, the pedagogical expert, to stay in control of the pedagogy and the quality. So, the AI just helps you get there faster. And of course, this is great for us as teachers. This means we have more time for those more important or more meaningful teaching moments, for feedback with your students, connection with your learners. So that's another really, really important area that I want you to remember. You are the pedagogy expert, not the AI. But if you can tell your AI what to do and give it all of your context, some of your pedagogical background, then it can do a really good job of carrying out pedagogical tasks on your behalf, not replacing you, but helping you with a bit of that tricky, time consuming work. Okay, we're going to do a quiz. So I've got 3 questions for you, and this is question 1. So please use the chat, and I'm going to ask Gabrielle to shout at me with the answers. So question 1, when custom GPTs were first launched by ChatGPT, which of the following GPTs was unexpectedly popular? I'll read through the options. Option 1, Sous Chef by ChatGPT. So that was a custom GPT that gives the user recipes based on the food they love, and ingredients they have. Option 2, Tech Support Advisor GPT. So it does what it says on the tin. It gives the user troubleshooting help. Or number 3, Laundry Buddy by ChatGPT, custom GPT, a pre-programmed assistant ready to help you out with all your stains and troubles. So please put in the chat, Gabrielle, tell me what
Yeah,
are people
responses are
saying?
pretty mixed.
Okay, bit of
Yeah,
everything.
a bit of everything. It's hard to tell which one's prevailing.
Okay.
Yeah,
What do
First we
you
but
had
think,
number
Gabrielle?
1, but then yeah.
I think a lot of people really want the laundry one to be the
Yes,
winner.
that's what they want. Exactly. Yeah, it's getting
Okay.
more popular.
That is correct. So it was the Laundry Buddy GPT. So I listened to a podcast or a training a few months ago with the founders of Custom GPT, and they couldn't believe how popular Laundry Buddy was. But I think we all know that, sometimes it's hard to get stains out. So that was the most popular. So you can see here, just to go back to what I was saying. So these 3 custom GPTs have been created by ChatGPT. Okay, so in that level of personalization, they're not a ChatGPT, they are a custom GPT, but they are created by ChatGPT. So they are more personalized, and they are a specialist in laundry. But of course, they don't know my specific requirements until I tell them. So that's great. Well done. Question 1, you all got right. Most of you got right, it sounds like. Question 2, custom GPTs, Copilot agents, and Gemini gems are all examples of different companies offering very similar AI technology. True or false? What do you think?
I see lots of T's here.
Lots of
Yep.
T's.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
True.
Great. Well done, everyone. And I think Claire helped us at the beginning with her expertise. So yes, well done, everyone. That is correct. So as Claire pointed out at the beginning of the session, essentially these are the same concept, same sort of version or solution, product version, product solution. They're just offered by different companies and sit within a different ecosystem. So custom GPTs, ChatGPT, OpenAI, Copilot, Microsoft, Gemini Gems, Google. Copilot, as same for me at Pearson, is offered by Pearson, offered by my institution. So that might be the one you go with. I can show you that one as well. But yes, whichever option you go with, the technology is pretty much the same. Question 3, 3 of 3. Coding experience is required to make custom GPTs. What do you think?
That's a good one. And we've got lots of Fs this time. False, false, false.
Good. Correct. False. Isn't that good news, right? So we do not need to be computer programmers to be able to make custom GPTs or Copilot agents. So that's great news. That sets us up. I mean, maybe some of you can code, but I know that I can't. So we're in a good spot. Okay, I'm going to show you a little visual just to try and really make it clear the difference between the ChatGPT and custom GPT before we move on to building one together. So hopefully you can see what I've done here is I've opened up ChatGPT, so I have the paid for version, but it doesn't really make much of a difference. So here on ChatGPT, what I've done is I have just sent it a photo of some ingredients in a fridge. No more context. That's all I've done. This is what it says. I'll let you read and I'll just sort of highlight the bits. So it says, it looks like you uploaded a photo of a fridge. Well done. Here's what I see. It tells me what it can see, which is kind of crazy impressive. It tells me what it can see. And then at the very bottom, it says, what would you like me to do? Okay. So let's look at break it down a little bit more. So it told me it looks like you've done this, said what it can see, and then it said to me, what next? So that was very helpful from ChatGPT, my general assistant, but it was pretty default in its tone. It just, straightforwardly told me what's in my fridge. It gave me multiple options for my next steps. That's great. But it didn't know exactly what I wanted because it's just my general assistant. It's just my day one general assistant. So great. It was pretty helpful, but it hasn't been pre-programmed to know exactly what I want it to do. In contrast, you probably see where I'm going with this, we have the sous chef custom GPT by ChatGPT that we looked at in the first quiz question. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to upload the same picture of a fridge. Let's see what we get back. Ooh la la, your fridge is a vibrant farmer's market waiting to happen. With all these colourful veggies, dairy delights, and even pineapple, you've got the makings of some delicious meals. Da, 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 da. Okay, so tell me in the chat, the sort of main things you're seeing. What looks different here? Maybe somebody can, Gabrielle, if there's anything going on in the chat, tell me what looks a little bit different here.
Topic focus.
Yes. Nice. Anything else anybody can see?
This is in different tone here.
Yeah, what about that ooh la la? That's the biggest thing for me. You're not going to get an ooh la la from ChatGPT unless you've asked it to. So really importantly here, we've got a really different tone. So this custom GPT has been programmed to talk to the user in a particular way. It's pretty fun, it's engaging. So we've got a really personalized tone. And then I want you to look to the bottom. So I got asked a few more questions, which is great. Then at that final section, I got given a couple of recipes or food ideas, right? So we can see that custom GPT is not only more customized, personalized, less generic compared with the tone in the previous example, but it jumps straight into the task. Compared with ChatGPT, which said, oh, thanks for the picture of the fridge, Christy. What do you want me to do? The sous chef, it knows. It's waiting to receive my shopping list or my picture of my fridge, and it's ready. It's ready to say to me, based on those items in your fridge, you can make a lovely stir fry. So hopefully you can see that level of personalization is coming in. And so here, like I said, this sous chef custom GPT has been made by ChatGPT, but we can take it a layer further. So if I wanted to make a sous chef for me, and it was sous chef custom GPT by Christy, I would give it more instructions. And I would say to it, every time I upload a picture of my fridge, I want you to give me 3 meals for the week. I always want them to be mostly vegetarian. I want them to be for 2 people because it's probably me or my boyfriend cooking, and I want them to take 15 to 30 minutes because I don't like cooking very much. So you can give it that extra layer of personalization. You could say to it, never give me recipes with peanuts in because my child is allergic, whatever. So you can hopefully start to see that these custom GPTs can start getting you somewhere super, super personalized so that every time I send that picture of my fridge, it is waiting, it is ready, it knows what to expect, it's been pre-programmed, and it's going to hit me with some recipes. So that is the custom GPT. And just to say, what I always like to do with custom GPTs, you can just have a normal conversation like you would with ChatGPT, and you can say to it, how have you been programmed? What are you going to do? And I asked the sous chef, what are your tone instructions? Because I thought it was interesting. And it said that it's a relatable custom GPT, sophisticated with a dash of charm. So I think you can see that it did that pretty well. Okay. So I'm going to move into a little demo. So let's move out of our personal lives and our food planning into our professional lives as teachers. So I've created a little scenario here, and I've built a custom GPT to solve my problem. So my problem here, or my use case, is that I'm a teacher and I like to use authentic news articles in my teaching. The problem, and this is probably or potentially a relatable problem for you, it takes me too long to turn those articles into a structured lesson, especially at short notice. I sometimes find a great piece and I'm scrolling the news before I go to bed and I think, oh, my students would love this, but I don't have time to adapt it. So enter the custom GPT. And what I've done is I've built a little authentic lesson planner, custom GPT, and I'm going to walk you through it. Before we get to the walkthrough, just to show you, if you are using ChatGPT or the custom GPT product, it's quite easy to find. So you'll be familiar with the normal kind of ChatGPT interface, and then the GPTs, the custom GPTs, are just down here. So if you go and explore, it takes you to the library. So these are all the ones that other people have created. So this could be ChatGPT themselves, like the laundry buddy, or it could be other people. It could be the ones that Chris created in the last session. He might have shared them publicly, put them in the library. So you can explore ones that have been created by other people. But then to get that to that next level of personalization that we've been talking about, you can create your own up here. So that is the process that I went through. So I've done a little screen recording because I don't trust a live demo. I've done a screen recording of me building a custom GPT, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what I did. So hopefully you can see the video playing now. So let's look at that first stage together. The first question that the custom GPT asked me was, what would I like to make? And so I just answered in natural language, no coding, no script. I said, I'm a teacher. I teach C1 adult learners in Australia. I often find interesting articles that I want to use in class, and I want you to help me quickly turn them into an engaging, structured lesson. So my custom GPT, every time it gets a new piece of information from me, it's thinking. It's building all of that into its personalized rule book for how my custom GPT should work. So what it always does is it likes to give you a name, lesson crafter. I said, that's fine. It likes to always build you a little profile picture, which is arguably a bit of an unnecessary step, but it likes to do that. So it's building me a profile picture. Here we go. It says, what do you think of the profile picture? I said, that's fine. Great. Lovely profile picture. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty now so I can tell this custom GPT exactly what I want it to do every time I come to it and I say, I'm teaching tomorrow and I've got a news article. Okay, so it said to me, would you like to refine how it structures lessons? And I said, yes, I have some specific instructions. So let's just pause on those because those are really important. So what I have said is every time I share an article that I want to use in my class, I want you, the custom GPT, to ask me whether it's for the full hour or a different time period. So that's its first instruction. Once it's done that, I said, you can create a lesson plan. And this is what I want my lesson plan to look like. So I want a lesson objective, and you can suggest that. I want a reading objective, and you can suggest that. And when you suggest it, you have to wait for my approval before you move on. And I've also asked it to suggest a related topic area so I can check it's broadly in line with C1. And then I've also asked for a secondary focus or skill that fits the text that I'm sharing, just so I can make sure that I'm on track. So it took my instructions and it said, cool, I've got it. It's building that rule book based on all of my instructions. Then it said to me, would you like it to also suggest assessment outcomes or reflection prompts? And I said, okay, before we get to that, I've just got some more preferences that I want to share with you. And this is how I, as a teacher, like to sequence my lessons. So I have shared as much context as I can think of about how I want my personal assistant to behave. So I said, this is how you should sequence a lesson. I want it to build towards the reading objective. I want to start with a lead in. I want you to pre teach the vocab, move to a reading for gist before we read for detail, blah, 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 blah. So I can go into as much detail as I would like about how I want my lesson structured because I am the pedagogical expert, not the AI, and I can tell it exactly how I want the lesson to work. And if you maybe have a framework that your institution uses, or you might have a curriculum, you can give it that. You can upload that. You can give it a knowledge bank. You can give it as much as you like. Anything that you think is helpful context that helps it to think like you can give it. So a little tip here, what I like to do when I'm building my custom GPTs is you can see we're having a lot of back and forth, and that's great. But what I sometimes like to do is just ask it, what other questions are you going to ask me? And can I just have all those questions at once? Because there's quite a lot of questions. So it said, no worries. Here's all of the questions that I need, the custom GPT needs, in order to be able to get all of my information. So I've got, you can see here, questions around delivery mode, around lesson timings. So what I did was I just took all of those questions out and I just replied all at once. And I said, yep, this is fine. Do it like this, please. So I sent all my responses back. Let's see what it does next. So you can see this little tool, it's updating, it's thinking, right, okay. So it said that we're all set. It's ready to generate those lessons that match my teaching workflow that I've already provided. And then I said, I'd like to share an article with you. Let's try it. So I've just given it here an article from the news this week. So you probably saw that there was a robbery at the Louvre, and I thought that was maybe would make an interesting and quite amusing lesson. So I've pasted the article in, and let's see what it does. So let's remember, like with that sous chef GPT that asked me questions about my allergies and my preferences, my GPT has said to me, as instructed, how long do you want the lesson to be? And I said an hour. Great. The next thing it's done, it's offered me a lesson objective. Because remember, I said, I want you to offer me the lesson objective, and then I will check it and approve it. So let's see. Students will be able to understand and discuss complex factual reporting on cultural and historical events. Yep, I'm happy with that. If I didn't like it, I could say I don't like that, try again, or I could give another preferred objective. So great, it's following my instructions really well. Next, the reading objective. So remember I said, I want you to give me a reading objective, but I'm going to approve it. So let's check. Am I happy with that? Reading for detailed understanding, identifying events and sequencing. Nice. The proposed topic area is crime and justice. Great. Cultural heritage, very C1. Great. So I said I'm happy with all of that. So now that it's got all of my elements of the framework confirmed, it's going to build me my lesson plan. And you'll see that it's following every single step that I told it to. So I said, start with lead in. Then I want you to pre-teach. You can see we've got some vocabulary coming up that is appropriate for pre-teaching: heist, heritage, perpetrator. It's got some suggestions for how I should teach that vocabulary. If I wanted to go next level and I wanted to say, can you build me a gap fill, or can you build me a matching exercise, it could do that. But what it's doing is it's building me my lesson plan based on the sequencing that I've provided. We've got the reading for detail, great. We've got some suggested focus language around speculation. Nice. And then we've got discussion. And then we've got some homework even because I said to it, yep, please do give me some extension. So at first glance, I'm pretty happy with this. Of course, we always need to refine that. The output, I would like to probably copy that, move it into a Word document, or ask the custom GPT to produce a Word document for me as a download. Then I would take a close look at it. I would maybe take some sections out. I would move a few things around, or I'd ask the GPT to help me to do that. But you can see that it's built me a pretty solid lesson plan based on a really topical recent article. And then what I said to it here is, I'm ready to go. This is all done. So I would now save this custom GPT, and that means that I can go back to it and use it in future. So I'm just going to quickly show you what I just moved on to there. So I built it in the create section. And in the create section, that's just me having a conversation with the AI. What you can do is you can move to configure, and that is essentially going straight to the rulebook that has been built. So you can see that as I had that conversation with the AI, it built some instructions for me. So it created its own rulebook. It said, after approval, you do lead in, then pre-teach, da 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 da. But you don't have to touch that if you don't want to. I didn't. I just had a natural language conversation with the AI, and then it built me this rulebook. And that's pretty much that. So once I am happy with everything, I can just click create at the top. As mentioned, you can upload files. So here, if you wanted to upload your kind of curriculum documents or any supporting documents, you could. Then here I just shared the link. I just saved it for myself because it's just a little personal test one that I made. And that's it. That's my custom GPT. So if I saw a really great news article on Sunday night and I wanted to get a lesson plan built around it, all I would do is send the article to my custom GPT because it's ready. It knows that it needs to receive my article and then have a conversation with me to build that lesson plan. So that's how I did it in custom GPT, and I will come to your possible questions in a second. One of your questions might be that where do they go next? So once you've built your custom GPT, you will see that they live in this sidebar of your normal ChatGPT screen. So I can click on this, and this is where I would go if I wanted to use it, give it an article. And then it's not just built and done. If I didn't like it, or I actually wanted it to perhaps ask me what level I was teaching today, then I could build that in. So I can go back and edit the GPT, and I could say, for example, always ask me what level my class is for. That will be one of the questions, and then we go from there. Some of you might use Copilot, no problem. So I won't show you all the steps because it's really simple. It's really, really similar. So Copilot agents are the equivalent. So if you've got Copilot, you just go into the Copilot Studio, and the wording is very slightly different, but it's the same concept. So having the conversation with the AI to build your custom GPT or your agent together is in the describe section. And then, just as with custom GPTs, the configure section is where it's building your rulebook. And then, as with custom GPTs, you can just save it, and then you can always go back and use it. Okay, so that's quite a lot of information for you, but I would really like to hear a little bit more from you guys. So, in a second, I'll stop sharing so I can see your faces in a second. But what I'd love to move on to is to get your thoughts. Do you think that's something you could use? Does it make any sense? Is it still a bit scary? If you're ready to start using that kind of thing, I'd love to hear a little bit more about where you think you might be able to use it. So we're going to put you in some breakout rooms in a minute. And I want you to think about the following questions, and I'll pop them in the chat, and hopefully you'll receive that. So what's one repetitive or time-consuming task that you do regularly? How could a custom GPT or a Copilot agent help? And what personalized instructions would it need? And then ultimately, I would love to know if you are ready to try using or building your own custom GPTs. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back to you all. Hopefully you can also, I can see you all, you can still see me. So I can see there's some things going on in the chat, which is great. I will take a look in a second and just check if there's any questions for me. But I would love for us to move into breakout rooms. So I think Sophie is hopefully going to put people into some breakout rooms, maybe of about 5 people each would probably work.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm interested in at the moment is using it for student feedback.
Yep.
Maybe in Peel resources, where in the resource we have materials to develop language, but then we want them to produce it as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's an asynchronous course, so we don't necessarily have the resources to have a teacher to mark 100 pieces of writing.
Yeah, of course.
So if one of these GPTs would be able to do that would be very useful.
Definitely. And I think when it's sort of feedback and you want it to be coming from like a teacher or even coming from you, you can adapt the tone so it sounds more like you, and you can give it examples of good feedback, you might have given your students before, and what you want it to sort of emulate. So I think that's a great idea. Do you think, Philippe, putting you on the spot, do you think you'd feel ready to try building one for that, like a custom GPT or a Copilot agent?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Look forward to seeing it. Thanks, Philippe. No pressure. Pressure.
Well, I mean, that goes back to my question before then. How do we share?
Yeah, great
How do
question.
we share these with our team?
Yeah, great question. So, a custom GPT like the one I've built, if I shared the link with like that exact one, I could share that with anybody, and if they could access it. So you don't need a paid account to use a custom GPT. To build a custom GPT, you do need a paid for account. If you were to create that version as a Copilot agent, you can share. My understanding, I'd have to triple check this, and I think it would also depend on your own institution. My understanding is you can only share within your own institution because of like possible like guardrailing or whatever. So yes, you can make one, and then it's very easy. There's just a share option, and you would just literally send like the link. Then they'd be able to open the agent. So if your teachers wanted to use the same one, they could. Awesome. Thanks, Philippe. I saw somebody has got their hand up. I can't see where they are.
Amos, I
Amos.
think.
Hi, Amos.
Hey guys, sorry, I came in a little bit late, got caught up. But just a query with regard to creating the custom GPTs. Can you have different levels of like decision-making trees to enable a range of different processes? Like for example, in our group, we were talking about if you had people from different language backgrounds, different levels, so you could have it go through a range of different decision-making trees, so that you customize it further and further rather than just having simple basic stuff.
Yeah, so do you mean that it would ask you the user questions so that you could really sort of get it right for a differentiated set of students? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So for example, if you gave it the the list of students who you're going to be working with, and then you might find people from certain cultural backgrounds who are sensitive to certain issues, or different language groups who have particular areas that they want to focus on, maybe for example pronunciation issues or that kind of stuff. So it actually becomes it customizes as it goes through the students. It will then customize its interactions based on those decision tree.
Yeah, so essentially any information that you give the custom GPT, it will use. So if you say, I have a class of however many students and 5 of them have these needs, or 5 of them are from, whatever particular area or background that you'd like them to know about, you can say to your custom GPT, I want you to always make sure that there is a differentiated task for my students at X level, or I want you to always make sure that this topic is appropriate for my students from X background. So anything that you want it to do, you can just tell it, and it will have that conversation with you every single time.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for the question. I think I'm going to probably pass back to Casey to do a little wrap up, but thank you so much for all the interest in the questions. And hoping that you guys will be able to get going with this. So Casey, back to you.
Thanks, Christy, and thanks everyone. What a great session that was. I hope you all enjoyed that. I saw a comment in the chat while we were going through, this is amazingly simple. And I think that really sums up what today was about. We really wanted to show that it doesn't have to be really complex or technical, that little steps can make a difference, and just seeing it in real life action. So before we finish, we just wanted to do a little poll in the chat. So we'd love some feedback on what you found useful, and we're thinking about running one more of these COPs before the end of the year. So if there's something, if you'd like to for us to do that, just let us know in the poll. Amazing. Great. Lots of people who are ready. So that's great. I'm even ready. I was saying to Sophie and Christy in the break, I'm going to try this for a rubric builder. Let's see if I can get that going. But I'd also, just before we wrap up, just a reminder, we've got our Ed-Tech SIG online symposium in November, and we're curating that program at the moment. So we'll send out details very soon, but we've got some great presenters ready to join us. So please be sure to sign up when you can. And thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
See you next
Thank you for a
time.
great
Bye-bye.
session. Thank
Again.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.